Lengthens the Yankee lineup this year. There's some power with a drive to left field, but it's caught by...
From the famous Black Sox scandal of the 20th century to the time the Houston Astros tried to steal from the opposing team, here are all the MLB scandals that shocked the world, starting with the infamous Black Sox scandal of 1919. This scandal involved 8 Chicago White Sox players. Yeah, you heard that right. They were accused of intentionally losing the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for money from gamblers. The players, including the legendary Shoeless Joe Jackson, were banned from baseball for life. This scandal still talked about today and is often referenced when discussing the topic of sports gambling.
It's not hit that deep.
Speaking of problems that athletes have, here's another pretty common problem among athletes. Yep, I'm talking about the steroid era of the 1990s and early 2000s.
A lot of times, when you have great rhythm with your catcher.
Bowers makes the play.
This scandal involved some of the biggest names in baseball, including Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. These players were accused of using performance-enhancing drugs to boost their stats and prolong their careers. The use of steroids in baseball became a major issue and led to the implementation of stricter drug testing policies in the league.
The 1-0 dribble back towards the mound. To the right of the mound, Bassett has it. Underhands to first in time.
It's not stealing if you don't get caught, but if you do, you might lose your job. And that's what this team learned the hard way. It's when the Houston Astros had their sign-stealing scandal of 2017. This scandal rocked the baseball world when it was revealed that the Astros had been using technology to steal signs from opposing teams. And this was during their 2017 championship season.
Kershaw brings it. Gurriel takes strike 3 at the knees.
The team used a camera positioned in the center field to relay signs to the dugout. That's where players would bang on trash cans to signal to the batter what pitch was coming. The scandal resulted in the firing of the team's general manager and manager, as well as a $5 million fine and loss of draft picks for the Astros. Pitching about control, but this guy may have taken things too far. It's a scandal involving the famous Dodgers pitcher, Trevor Bauer's assault case. In 2021, Bauer was accused of assault by a woman he'd been in a relationship with. The woman claimed that Bauer had choked her to the point of unconsciousness and caused her to suffer injuries that required hospitalization. Bauer has denied the allegations, but the scandal has led to an ongoing investigation by Major League Baseball and a restraining order against Bauer, which is actually pretty smart if you think about it. Backing a guy like that just isn't the right call. Speaking of being smart, the Braves may have thought they were playing smart, but they were playing with fire.
4 extra base hit. High fly ball center field. That's very well hit. Track wall.
The Atlanta Braves lost a lot over illegal international signing practices in 2017. Everyone discovered they were offering under-the-table deals to players. The MLB subsequently penalized the team, with several prospects being declared free agents and losing draft picks. After this one, Kevin Maitan was the most important player to be pushed to free agent status, and the Braves lost their best catcher prospect. It was honestly just crazy to witness, and it was one of the stupidest things the Braves could have done. I mean, this was literally the definition of high-risk, low-reward situation, yet they still went ahead with it. Though it's not only MLB teams that mess up, umpires do as well. Remember when Eric Gregg was accused of being biased toward certain players and teams? In a 2003 interview, Gregg admitted to calling a wide strike zone in favor of pitcher Livan Hernandez. This happened during the 1997 National League Championship Series.
Brandon up top of your screen, he broke back first.
The admission raised questions about umpires' impartiality and their impact on the outcome of games. After all, if umpires aren't fair, then the game's not going to be in safe hands at all.
Fly ball again. Acuna deep left center. He's got 2 homers.
Though as scandalous as this was, the next one is even worse. It's the pine tar incident. More than the problem itself, what happened after the problem got it on the list. George Brett hit a home run in the 9th inning of a game between the Kansas City Royals and the New York Yankees in July 1983. This gave the Royals a 5-4 lead. At this point, Billy Martin said that his bat had too much pine tar on it. The umpires agreed and threw him out, ending the game. The Royals argued against the call, and it ended up being changed so that they they won the game. This was a case of things being perfectly fine, but then changing for the worse. But this next scandal was the opposite, because from start to finish, it was a mess. It's none other than the 1910 controversy over the Chalmers Award.
The pitch taken for a strike. The throw goes into center field from Heineman, but Nimmo can't get up.
In short, the person who won the batting title in 1910 would get a Chalmers car. In the last few days, Ty Cobb and Nap Lajoie were in a close race for the title. While Cobb sat out the last two games, Lajoie bunted against the St. Louis Browns and got hit after hit after the players were told to play the infield deep. People disagreed about whether one of his hits was an error. They also disagreed on whether one of Cobb's games was played more than once and what each player's real averages were. In the end, Van Johnson said that Cobb was the champion. Chalmers gave cars to both players, and most sites say that Lajoie was the champion in 1910. While all of these scandals so far have been crazy, I still haven't mentioned the drama that used to go down during All-Star plays.
Things start speeding up on you.
Hit shortly. This could be it. There's one on to first.
I mean, the 1957 All-Star Game was wild. What would happen if fans of one team got together and only wanted their players to play in the All-Star Game? In 1957, this is exactly what happened to the Cincinnati Reds. Their fans filled up the ballot box for the All-Star Game, and in the end, 7 Reds were named starters. Stan Musial was the only one who didn't play for Cincinnati. Ford Frick took over and put Willie Mays and Hank Aaron instead of Wally Post and Gus Bell. Not only that, voting by fans was taken away until 1970. No one would have said anything if they would have only stuffed ballots for Frank Robinson. Now, for the next guy, almost nobody knows about him, but it doesn't make him any less impressive though. In fact, I'm surprised that not many people seem to know about Dick Higham. Still, the story of the only umpire who was kicked out of baseball should be interesting. In the 1870s, Dick Higham played baseball. 2 years later, he became an umpire. William Thompson, the owner of the Detroit Wolverines, thought that his calls against his team were strange, so he hired a detective to look into it. Sure enough, Higham worked with a gambler to fix games for and against Detroit. He was quickly banned for this. But as wild as all of these scandals were, this last one takes the cake. I'm talking about the case of the corked bat. A few times, players tried to get away with using a corked bat. It isn't as bad as some of the other things on this list, but 1994 is the one time everyone remembers. In an April game between the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox, the White Sox manager Gene Lamont questioned Albert Bell's bat, so the umpires took it away to check it out. Yikes! It was pretty much over for him by then, and for the rest of the team. After that, Jason Grimsley crept into the place where the bat was kept and switched it out. Dave Phillips didn't believe it, so he called the police and an FBI agent. Bell was suspended, and it turned out that his bats had been tampered with. That's all for the MLB scandals that shocked the world.